What a false bill of sale. I watched this movie, and I'm not Led Zeppelin, so I feel like I want a refund on becoming Led Zeppelin. If I didn't turn into Led Zeppelin, then the movie didn't do its job. I'm John Stark from MacMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and this is Becoming Led Zeppelin, which is a documentary that you can currently catch on video on demand. It's from Sony Pictures Classics, which I did not know when I paid attention to and rented it anyway, which means it's going to be on Netflix at some point. It has an audio description narrated by Andrea Breton, and it's doing pretty well on the Apple charts, so I noticed I was like, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of Led Zeppelin, but I don't mind being educated about things and like learning more about people, places, things, objects, bands, artists, moments in history. Like like my IQ going up after a movie doesn't make me feel, like I've wasted my time. So what's Becoming Led Zeppelin going to do for me? Well, I think Becoming Led Zeppelin is a little bit more Moon Age Daydream than This Is Me ... now. In case you're kind of wondering where on the spectrum of musician movies it is. So click like and subscribe, and we're going to talk about Led Zeppelin. Again, I know very little about them as a band. I couldn't really tell you who was in it. There are names that I recognize. I was like, oh, those two guys are in Led Zeppelin. And it's like I know who Robert Plant is, but I've never given a whole lot of thought to why I know that. Uh, I'm very honest. So the movie starts out a little bit more like a typical documentary in introducing you to the guys, and they're talking about coming up in the music world at a certain time and starting as sort of working musicians, and they're not really together as a band, and they're sort of navigating the music industry, and then they kind of come together as a band and they start making this music. Love hearing that term. And then the film kind of just it's waited long enough for you to drop the acid. It kind of becomes something else, which is why I compared it to Moon Age Daydream. So I don't know that I can actually specifically endorse this, but there are experiences that you could be having during becoming Led Zeppelin that would probably make becoming Led Zeppelin more like a whole different thing for you. There are just like long sequences where we're just kind of laid back and listening to the music and watching them play somewhere back in the day, in some old footage. The audio description is fun in these places because it tries to describe the band playing the instruments, which I think is hilarious because it's like it feels very sort of like layman, like just sort of like moving up and down a guitar board, describing a guitarist playing a guitar, and using as much knowledge that you have to be able to write something. And one of those things where you're like, what would somebody who knows music or a musician, how would they describe that versus somebody who's just sort of seeing it and is passively aware of the fact that that's a guitar and and how it works, like I'm saying, like the layman's way of looking at playing an instrument. So very sort of like simplified terms being used, but there's an effort made at when there's like an insane guitar solo that just plays forever, that it's just being described at some length. It's just so we're still focusing on the camera and we're still focusing on this guy, and so you still get visual elements. It's not something like abandons you just because there's like a music performance, and it does kind of play around with a little bit of the use of colors, so and how things are shot and connected together. It's a very interesting documentary. It's not my favorite documentary because I was kind of liking the first part of the film, and then it just felt like it became like have you heard their music? Let's play it for you. And I was like, okay, but I kind of liked hearing them talk about music. I can always listen to Led Zeppelin. You can always just empower me to uh, listen to them afterwards. I mean, there are definitely 1,000 streaming options for Led Zeppelin. So I have that ability. I can go buy their music. I can do 100 different things. But I came here to learn more about them. And I feel like either there wasn't enough to make the runtime because a lot of it is their music, which is fine. Like, I'm not going to say no to that in a music documentary, but it also kind of feels like the back half of the movie had less to say than the front half of the movie, and the back half of the movie kind of just translated into a concert film and it just became something else. It was just like, we're going to play more music and talk less. I hope that's okay with you. So it's not about, sometimes movies use performances, musical performances, to highlight moments in history. Like, this is like, well, we were here at Wembley Stadium and we rocked it out, and this is the classic performance of ours from that time, and we're gonna play it, and then we're gonna move on and tell you more about the story and more about us, and then we're gonna come to a next iconic performance. It doesn't really do that. It's just kind of like, well, we became Led Zeppelin, and our sound evolved from there. Listen to our music now. It's kind of what I felt like the movie did. So, um, and then the talking went down, and they talked less, occasionally interjecting, but not nearly to what it was in the beginning. So it's a little bit of an odd structure. That wasn't my favorite, but I still did learn more about Led Zeppelin as a band than what I knew going in. I just, in the grand music documentary scheme, I've already seen films like Janissy and Breaking Silence that I thought this year did a better job of telling me who the artist was, why they wrote the music, why they chose to do, what the struggles were that they were presented along the way, while also playing some of the music and getting me hooked into who they were as artists. So it did both. It successfully managed to touch base on the artistry, the then and now, while also including some performances. And it was about the same runtime as this. It's about 2 hours. That was about 2 hours. So, yeah, it didn't pull me in more to Led Zeppelin quite the way that hearing Janis Ian, who I honestly didn't even know existed. I'm always honest. I'm always honest. I didn't even know she existed as a human being. I mean, like, if people had said Janis Ian to me, I'd be like, from Mean Girls? That's my reference. So, now I know it completely different, and I'm like, oh, there's this great artist, and I listen to her music now. And so I knew who Led Zeppelin was, and I've heard their music before, but this didn't make me increase the need for me to listen to more Led Zeppelin. And some of that is just personal preference, but it also could just be the fact that I still feel like I don't know enough about the band. I still feel like I know a little bit about, like, before Led Zeppelin, but not really during, after, the rise and fall, the drama, the divorces, the marriages, the scandals, like all the kind of stuff that they kind of throw in. It just kind of is there. It's like, well, we became Led Zeppelin, and then that's what we're taking that literally, becoming. It's all about becoming. And once we are Led Zeppelin, y'all can fuck off. So, yeah, the audio description here is fine. It's interesting, actually, because it's interesting to see how people navigate audio description when it is just a band playing, and where you choose to bring in the audio description. Do you do it when someone's singing? It's archival, it's not live, it's not a concert film. So where do you choose to put it in? And it, maybe not my favorite documentary audio description track of the year, but I thought it was good. And I liked most of the choices that they made in terms of where they were like, oh, we're going to talk here. And I was like, it feels like a good place. Good choice. you know? Um, because otherwise the audio description would just abandon you for the back half of the movie. Like, where are you for like most of the last hour of the film? You'd just be listening to music and be like, I thought this film had audio description. Uh, so it's always the choices that you have to make in anything related to music is when people are singing, are you talking? So anyway, that's it. Pretty simple. If you want to learn more about Led Zeppelin, this is definitely going to do that for you, at least on some level. And if you already love Led Zeppelin, that's kind of where I'm thinking, is I think this is for the fans. I don't think this is for, so I'm trying to take my own like personal, like, well, it didn't, you know, bowl me over, but also at the same time, I think if I was a Led Zeppelin fan, I'd be like all about this. So if I was already a fan, I think this is like that, which is why I said it's Moon Age Daydream, because it's the kind of thing that you watch for fans. Like Moon Age Daydream, David Bowie fans were going nuts when that thing came out. It wasn't for non-fans as much as it was for fans. And I think when you have an artist too, there are things that are like that. Like, technically, This Is Me, ... Now was for fans. Just, so, but, this is a fan thing. It's less of a, for, movie critics or cinephiles. It's for the Led Zeppelin fans. I can't even imagine what a theater would be like. But now we have edibles. But you don't have to, there doesn't have to be a cloud in the air anymore. Uh I think it's one of those movies, yeah. So I'm gonna be becoming Led Zeppelin B. I don't it's not my favorite documentary of the year. I think it works for fans. I kind of wanted a little bit more of story, and not for it to peter out, and to learn more about the back half of the career, where these people and all that kind of stuff. So I did want more from that, but I think fans will like it. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I will see you guys on the other side.